Hey everyone, I wanted to show you the trash compactor diorama that I 3D printed for the Black series. This is a design that I made myself that is available on my Patreon. If you guys didn't know, I run a Patreon and almost every week I put out new files that you can use for toy photography or just for displaying on your shelf, and you can use them as a playset to play with your kids. If you've never 3D printed, I'll explain a little bit about how that works in a bit. When I design my files, I try to make them as easy as possible to print. Most of these print without any supports or paint. I also try to consider which figures are coming out every time I make a diorama, so that way when new figures release, like the Kenobi figures, you've got somewhere to stick them, such as this Mapuzo outpost. And this is a Rancor that is only 2 inches deep, so you can still fit it on your shelf. These are just some of the other ones that I've made recently. So all of these and more are available on my Patreon. It is currently only $9 per month, and you get everything you see there immediately when you join. I design all of my files in a program called Shaper 3D, in which I can kind of make sure all of the moving parts are going to work, as well as just laying out the piece so that it fits on smaller printers by separating it into smaller pieces, and then I make sure that it's able to print without any supports if possible. If you don't know what that means, here is a quick introduction to 3D printing for collectors. So you buy filament in the color that you want, and the 3D printer will push it through this tube and into this heated nozzle and squeeze it out sort of like toothpaste onto this glass bed, which is also heated. And the way the printer knows what to do is through this software called a slicer, which takes your 3D model, this is the one we saw before in the iPad program, and it breaks it down layer by layer and tells the printer exactly how to print. So then you will take that file and put it onto a memory card, select it on the printer, and the printer takes it from there. The printer will start by printing the outline of your object. In this case, we have a pretty long rectangle. And once it does a few laps around the perimeter, it will start coloring inside the lines and fill in the first layer. In this case, it is just a solid rectangle. It will then do this about 4 or 5 times until you have a nice solid base. And then afterwards, it will start printing this pattern that creates support inside the object without being 100% solid, because that would take a long time to print, as well as a lot of extra filament that you don't need. In this case, my print is peeling off the bed a little bit, but I was just using this as an example, but normally I would have had to start this print over and put down some of this polymer glue that I use, which I will have linked below. If you do 3D print, I highly recommend it. I glued the finished pieces along the edges here, and then the doorway is also 2 pieces that are glued. That way it can have a gap for the door to slide in and out. This was really tricky to figure out, but I found a way to get the doors to slide in and out without having any other pieces necessary. This is pretty tricky with 3D printing, just given the way that prints need to be designed. It's kind of complicated to explain here. I'll probably cover that in another video. And then this door piece just prints right on its back and slides perfectly through the little gap here. The orange lights on the door are just printed as a separate piece, and they just click right into place there, so you don't have to worry about doing any detail painting or anything. So let's bring in some of our figures now. These are the hexagon stands that I've printed before, which I will put on the ground and then hide underneath some of the trash. So like you saw my print warping before, I have a lot of failed prints that I just literally pulled out of the trash can while I was designing this. Here's another version of that door piece that also failed. And this is just a crumpled up piece of filament. This is a under extruded piece, so basically the material wasn't coming out fast enough, which created a very weak structured piece. And then I printed this pole, which is also included in the diorama files that you can use. If you're a collector and you've been thinking about 3D printing, you can get started for just a few $100s. The printer that I used for this video is only about $240 right now on Amazon. Let me know in the comments below if you would like to see a more in-depth video on 3D printing, or more videos just like this showing off some of my dioramas, or if you have any cool ideas for dioramas that you haven't seen me make yet, also leave those in the comments below. I would love to hear from you all. Please leave a like and subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you all next time.